to Freshly Forever, a podcast that gives you fascinating insights week after week. Here's your host, Vi Kumar.
Hey folks, welcome to podcast Freshly Forever. Today I'm here with Elyssa Dorf. She's a graphic designer with a focus in branding, digital design, pop art, and design trend research. Elyssa has a communications design degree from Skidmore College and a design management master's degree from Pratt Institute. She has created cheery designs and showcases her passion through a shoppable line of pop art and trend-focused design services. I'm just so thrilled to have her here amidst us. Welcome, Elyssa, to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Okay, a work of art which did not begin in emotion is not art, said Paul Cézanne. How do you think your journey with cheery started, and can you tell us how that was born?
Yeah, totally. So art has always been my happy place and my way of escaping. Some people do yoga, some people go to the gym. I wish I did something like that, but instead I do art, and that eases my mind, and just the time flies by when I'm painting, drawing, doodling, anything. So when it was a year ago now, I just graduated from my graduate program, but I was working full time for 2 years and going to grad school at night. So it was just really long days, really overwhelming, and so many things on my mind. So I found that I was coming home from a long day of work, then school, getting home at 10, 11 o'clock and just unable to unwind. And, TV wasn't doing it for me. The last thing I wanted to do was read some more. So I turned to art and I started doodling. I've always had jobs in design. So I've always had tasked projects where I'm focusing on drawing or creating a set, either marketing piece or product design, whatever. But this was kind of my time to go to my happy place and doodle whatever I was feeling. So inspirational sayings, just smiley faces, colorful objects, nostalgic items. That's kind of what I would do when I got home, and that would put me to sleep. So I would spend an hour or two drawing, and then all of a sudden I'm relaxed enough to go to bed. And I was just looking for an outlet to share all of those doodles because I was inundating all of my personal followers on Instagram with content they didn't sign up for. So I decided to create Cheery as a place to house all of those doodles and things that made me happy and brought me peace.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's actually an excellent story. And you said instead of doing yoga or whatever, and you wish you did it, hey, right here, your art is a huge mindfulness exercise by itself. In itself. So I think, you definitely are doing something tremendous, and that's definitely, adding to all the positivity that you can bring. Cheerydesigns.com, your website, you sell so many different products. What made you think of these different products that you could create? You have done everything from home office to personal items, and why don't you talk about that?
Right. So I actually started as cheery cards because I love the idea of giving cards for not just the standard birthday, anniversary, Mother's Day, but giving cards for all occasions and focusing on celebrating the little wins in life that most people forget, whether it's getting an A on your test or, getting over something personally that was hard on you. So that was the way I began. And I named the company Cheery Cards because my tagline was, gifts are sweeter with a cheery on top. So whether you're bringing yourself a latte and, giving a friend a latte and putting a card of encouragement, or giving a real birthday gift and putting a cheery birthday card on top, it kind of just takes it to the next level. So that's where I began. And then I got a lot of feedback from Instagram followers, family and friends who were looking for wall art and for me to do more with the designs that I already had. So I've been slowly growing my product line based on the customer demand. I do have a background in product design, so it's something that was adjacent to what I've done before. It was just a matter of seeking out my own vendors and my own connections to make it work for Cheery on a smaller scale than the way I was used to working in a corporate job. So ongoing and on growing.
Oh, absolutely. And you have T-shirts, you have phone cases, and you have ready to hang art like you talked about, or like unframed prints and so on and so forth. So I guess it's definitely evolving every single day, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And from what I can see, it seems like, you're trying to offer things at an affordable pricing, and, like you're trying to focus more on the ability to bring cheer through your design or, whatever you choose to do. And that's something phenomenal. And can you talk about whether this is only an online business, or do you also have like a storefront or like pop-ups maybe?
Right. So right now, e-commerce only. I do have a website. However, now that COVID, the restrictions are starting to lift up a little bit, I have been doing some outdoor pop-ups, socially distant, and I'm hoping to do even more, and maybe some indoor markets, more stuff in the New York City area as, the restrictions open up and we're able to do so, because I really have loved interacting with and meeting customers and potential design clients face to face. That has just been so fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Maybe one day a store.
Oh, certainly. I think you're treading on the right path. And how do you think you have been able to make a difference with what you do, your design as such? What do you think, is your USP, so to speak, Elyssa?
Yeah, I kind of think it's twofold. One part being that I'm in people's homes, which is such an intimate placement to have. So being able to bring either good memories or someone's favorite color or things that remind them of their past, who they are now, where they want to be. My art always conveys a message, and that just serves as a reminder to somebody who's either in a really great place or trying to get to that great place. So I'm really grateful to have the privilege to be in someone's living room, bathroom, bedroom, wherever be it, just as a moment for them to recognize and to smile, hopefully, because no one wants to look at blank walls. And then the other fold would be social media. I feel like as wonderful as a tool it is, social media can also be kind of a toxic environment. So there's this break from the feeds of perfection that make you feel like you're not living the best life. And why are these people succeeding more than I am? And this is kind of a moment of realness. And it brings you back to what makes you happy, whether it's candy or color or whatever it is. It's just kind of a break in the feed and something fun.
Yeah, so it seems like, whatever may happen in one's lives, you are just able to bring them back to their place of, serenity, their place of feeling calm. So how do you think color psychology plays a role in interior design or with anything that you do, Elyssa?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because people say that certain colors evoke certain moods, whereas I'm not totally sure that I believe that. I think it's more so on an individual level. Like the way one color makes me feel doesn't necessarily affect another person in the same way. So I think it's totally personal preference when it comes to which colors to work with. But just the fact of incorporating color and not staring at neutrals and having kind of a place to focus in your home is really where you get the benefit. And even not so much about color, but more thematically, what makes you happy overall. So some people kind of, stepping out even further and looking at all of the senses, some people are really affected by visual, as I am, obviously. And for me, that means I need art everywhere. I need something to focus on. I don't want blank walls. And I think that's why I'm drawn to kind of a rainbow aesthetic, because I like a lot to look at and just to see all the colors together. I can't even explain it. Whereas other people are more into the sense of smell or the sense of sound. So when thinking about creating this environment, just putting all of the senses together is kind of what I focus on, really just holistically looking at your space. There's a reason why some people live in a city where there's a lot of background noise and white noise, and some people who have to live in the middle of nowhere. And the same goes with scents of candles and scents of diffusers. So I view color as the same way. As it's kind of ambiguous as to how you choose, but I try to create something for everyone. Unless you like neutrals, then cheery is not your vibe.
Okay. So I guess, you do custom stuff. We can come to that in a minute. But
totally.
How do you think people that you sell your art to, how do they react? How accepted do you feel with your designs, and what's the feedback that you hear from clients?
Very good feedback so far. I have done a lot of custom work recently, and I feel like that just hits on a different level, not to knock down any work that you're buying kind of off the site that's already designed, but people who have used I just did a piece that a mom was creating for her daughter, and she sings to her, "You Are My Sunshine," every night before bed. So I did a "You Are My Sunshine" piece that hangs above her bed. So when the mom isn't there and she's traveling, the saying is still there. So there's something special about creating pieces that are customized and really tailored to whoever you're gifting. I did a portrait recently for someone whose dog passed away, and it's a dog portrait in memory of this puppy that was such a big part of their lives. So I feel like when I connect on an emotional level, whether it's something custom or if you have like an inside joke with somebody or just a favorite hobby, it's the emotion that really gets people.
Oh, yeah. And I think adding color definitely has an impact on mental well-being. And so I guess, there's so much talk or science about the healing powers of color and, the mood boosting powers and so on and so forth. But it seems like, you just played around with colors because, you felt comfortable doing it. Was there like a background or specific reasoning behind you resorting to different colors, like as far as the scientific healing powers of colors or anything like that? Say, okay, blue brings comfort or orange evokes enthusiasm and things like that,
So for the most part, the way I work with color is on kind of a rainbow basis, combining cool colors, warm colors, all sorts of shades. And that allows for all of the different emotions that come through kind of in that spectrum of color. And on the same level, I do have certain monochromatic pieces where you can pick your blue or you can pick your pink or orange, so be it, based on what mood you want that piece to evoke in the space that you have.
Absolutely. I think so. That's where your customization and your custom work can come in. So me as a client, if I just feel that I believe in, say, color medicine or colors healing me in terms of certain colors, making me feel more vibrant than others. If I tell you to create something with those, then you are able to put together and do something with it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Totally catered.
Okay. And there is definitely, science that kind of, talks about, all these centuries old method of color medicine and phototherapy in countries like Egypt, China, India, and Greece, and all of that. And so it's very interesting as to how each one reacts differently to different colors, and what is, very vibrant and warm to someone may be different to the other. And I see what you mean when the custom aspect comes in. Who inspired you think, to do it all? Was it someone at home in the family, or was it an artist that you kind of look up to? Who do you think inspired you the most?
Yeah, totally. So the idea of cheery, back when I was cheery cards, was very much inspired by my mom, who growing up really celebrated every little win with us, every little holiday, not just the mainstream holidays. It was April Fool's Day. It was the first day of spring. It was anything little, anything big, anything in between. So that's kind of how I found my line of cards. because my cards are meant to be for all occasions or whichever occasions are important to you.
And
Not
speaking of,
just,
Cheery Cards was the one that was featured on Forbes, correct? Yeah, for the Mother's Day of 2020
yes,
collection list. Yeah, I think Forbes.
yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So starting with the cards, that was very much my mom's influence right there. And then expanding into wall art, I look to other people who are doing similar things. So I love Jonathan Adler and the references he uses to pop culture. There are so many out there. Ashley Longshore art. I love the work that she's doing, Elizabeth Sutton. So I have a lot of people that I'm looking up to in the industry and taking notes from. But it really stems back to my mom and the importance of creativity and finding an outlet. You know, growing up, we weren't allowed to watch TV during the week. So it was up to us to come up with other activities after our schoolwork that brought us joy. And for me, that was art. So I didn't like it then, but I'm grateful for it now.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, she also would switch your house decor quite a bit when you were younger, I believe. And I know that perhaps created an impact on you. So how important do you think all that was in whatever you are able to bring in terms of, the very many facets to your art, and how important do you think it is to celebrate every moment, like you said earlier?
Yeah, totally. I think you never want to be stagnant in your life. So I don't know why you would want to be stagnant in this space you're living in, because the person you are this moment may be different than the way you're feeling, or the person you are, the way you're living the following month. Like, for example, when COVID hit, I was living in New York City and my apartment was really my home base. And that's it. I slept there. And then all day I was out and about. And all of a sudden, my apartment turned into my everything, my gym, my place of celebration, my place of mourning, my workplace, everything. So that's a really drastic example of adjusting the space you live on based on what's going on in your life. And I think your art should do the same. So with my mom's example and growing up, the colors around our house changed seasonally. And we never felt like it really marked the beginning of something new. So it wasn't, we're in like the 4th month of school. We're in the 1st month of school that's winter, and we have a new wardrobe and we have new surroundings when we come home and new foods because it's winter time. So I just love the idea of changing your art as well, because I don't know if I want to look at a beach when it's snowy outside in New York. I think I need art that makes me feel like I'm living in this moment. So I personally, what I love about my canvases is you hang them with a thumbtack, and I am constantly, my husband comes home from work and everything is in a different spot because it's just so easy to swap out. But it makes you feel new again. It's rejuvenating.
Okay. And you also do design consultations, and we talked about the custom artwork, right? So
yes.
What kind of work do you do?
Yeah, so I am a graphic designer by trade. So I also offer, I kind of try to divide my business in twofold. So the shoppable line of art, but also design services. So within design services, using my marketing background, I do logo design, brand development, style guides, pitch decks, social media marketing, kind of anything along those lines, from digital to printed collateral. So helping other people establish their brand presence.
So how do you think your communication design degree and your design management masters, how do you think all that play into whatever you are currently practically doing? Because for any young student listening, for them to have an idea of what they can do when they take to that space, as far as, like a background in education versus what you are able to achieve practically. Can you just offer some insights on that?
Yeah, I think you never want to pigeonhole yourself. And the mistake I made in undergrad was only having a major, which I loved my major and was fortunate that there was some breadth to it. But I ended up going back to grad school because I felt like only having one major, having no minors, I wasn't as well-rounded as I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. So I was so focused on design and so focused on being a designer on someone else's team. And kind of the way I went to school, I thought I was working for a big company after graduation and worrying about my one task, which was designing pretty things. Mm-hmm. And once I got out and started working on a team, I realized that I was missing all of the other elements that go into the company. And I really just wanted to learn more. So I found myself meeting with the CFO and meeting with the IT department and meeting with the product development team and trying to learn holistically how my designs went from ideation to conception to purchasing and kind of how it goes full circle. And I felt like it wasn't enough to know my one little piece. And one day I do want to own my own business. So that's why I ended up going back to school and learning the business aspect of things and trying to fill in those gaps. So I think I'm so fortunate that I went to a liberal arts school undergrad because I did have to take my science and my math, et cetera. But I feel like if I could do it all over again, I would really focus on breadth because you never know. When you're 21, you don't know what you want to do the rest of your life. And it always helps to dabble in more courses than you think because it's hard being an adult.
Oh, absolutely. Back in a moment with our guest on Freshly Forever. And you also do custom labels and whatnot, and you have already done stuff like that, working with your dad at a nonprofit, correct?
Definitely, yes.
Okay. So yeah, that kind of speaks for, when you talked about breadth, that kind of speaks for what you're able to do now, like you're able to run your own business, but at the same time, you're able to leverage on whatever design skills you acquired in terms definitely. Of, what you did in school and so on. So I think that's fantastic. And what about, your hand painting of mural at the Pottery Barn, New York City store when it was boarded up? And I guess, that was, probably in the middle of COVID and, it definitely brought about a transformation in so many people's lives looking at that cheery stuff. So definitely. What made you think about doing that?
Part of the reason I moved to the city is because especially the holiday season is so beautiful in New York. And just being able to window shop and walk around your neighborhood, that was kind of all we had at that moment in time because restaurants were closed, gyms were closed, everything was closed. So my whole neighborhood was either inside, working, eating, living their life, or outside, exercising, being with their family. So when all of the sudden, all of our sites were covered up, it was just so drab and so depressing. It really brought down the mood of everyone who thought, maybe we're nearing an end. Maybe it's about to get better. It made everyone feel so much worse. So on one of my walks, Pottery Barn really jumped out to me because first of all, it was very close to my apartment. And second of all, they always had the most adorable winter displays because I just love a cozy winter home. And no one was going into the store. Despite the fact that we are all at home and interior design has been booming right now, no one was going in because it just looked so unappealing. So I went in, was able to speak to the store manager and propose my idea. So once they shared with me that their winter theme that year was gnomes, I thought it was a great idea to bring full-size gnomes to the outside of Pottery Barn, considering they usually offer a sit on Santa's lap photo shoot for the kids at Pottery Barn. And instead of that, I was able to paint these huge gnomes outside that kids were then able to come up to and take a picture with their family. And they didn't feel like they were missing out on their tradition. It was just a new tradition. So that was really special.
That also earned you your feature on several of the press outlets like NBC and CBS and all of that, right? So yes. How significant has that been in your journey? You have also been featured on Forbes, Thrive, and all those, magazines as well. So how do you think all that has changed what you're doing?
It has just brought everything to a bigger scale, and it's
Uh-huh.
gotten me an audience that is a lot wider than I used to have. So, when you start a business, at first it's like your mom and your husband
Mhm.
following you on Instagram, and then slowly you trickle out, and it's a friend of a friend and a friend of a friend of a friend. And finally, press has brought me people that are complete strangers. And
Mhm.
that has been really fun, and also a challenging journey to maintain those followers, because it's trying to figure out what these people came to me for. Did they
Uh-huh.
come because they love the mural and they want to see more street art? Because then if I post, a card, not sure they're interested. So I've tried to mix up my content a little bit more to appeal to this wider audience. So
Mhm.
it's hard to cater to everybody, but I feel like each post can cater to somebody, and hopefully on a whole, there's something for everyone in the feed.
Oh, target market research is so crucial in digital media, right? And, like
Totally.
what you said makes total sense. So, to understand your audience and be able to cater to what their needs are,
Right.
right from the social media post to whatever you create and sell on your website, all that matters. And
Yeah.
I think you're doing a phenomenal job, Elyssa. And so, what do you think, as far as the pandemic, has that made you think differently as to how you have steered Cheery? And what about home offices, student space, and the need for color? Has all of that uh, transformed what you do?
Yeah, something that I did during the pandemic, and I'm still working to build out the collection, but was offering these unframed art prints that are the lowest price of all the items on my website, and hoping that people can use the frames they have at home, get
Mm-hmm.
these art prints, and just swap them out whenever they feel need be. Because now that we are spending so much time at home, it's so important to keep all of your artwork and all of everything you surround yourself with fresh, because we are hitting this point where, like, we have been here for over a year now in the same spot. So trying
Uh-huh.
to find a little joy is so important. So I'm just constantly expanding and trying to spin my wheels on what it is people need right now, and what can bring them joy. For me, it's, all I need is one thing a day, like one moment that I'm either really excited about or makes me smile, can carry me through the whole day. So if we're in this kind of mundane rut, maybe it's a new piece of cheery art arriving in the mail. Maybe it's rearranging your furniture. I'm just trying to be there as an outlet of, that one thing. It could be a post that you forward to your friend because it reminds you of them.
Mm-hmm.
So just trying to be there on all sorts of levels.
Okay, that's just fantastic. And I know you were into sports in your younger days, and whatever you did with sports, how do you think uh, it transformed you as a person, or does that have any relevance as far as what you do today? And what qualities you think you brought with from that to whatever you're doing right now?
Yeah, definitely. I was a competitive freestyle skier for most of my childhood, through the end of high school. And for me, that was always the biggest struggle, was finding the balance between school and skiing. Because
Mm-hmm.
in my little head, all that mattered to me was skiing. And in my parents' mind, all that mattered was school. And if school slipped, skiing was gone. So I
Mm-hmm.
was constantly trying to find that balance. I missed a lot of classes for competitions and had to make up for it in other ways. So I felt like I was kind of leading this double life in a sense, where I wanted to give my all from 9 to 3. And then on the weekends and Fridays and whenever I was in competition, then I would give my all um, to my sport. So I feel similarly now. Cheery is a part-time business, hoping to convert in the near-ish future to full-time. So
Mm-hmm.
I wake up at 6 in the morning and I do Cheery from 6 to 9, my day job from 9 to 5, and Cheery from 5 till bedtime. But my goal really is for everyone at my day job to feel like I'm there 100%,
Uh-huh.
and for all of my cheery, either art customers or design clients to feel like it is all about them and I'm there to support them as well. So similar to my skiing school balance, I find that I try to split. There's two Elyssas. There's a cheery Elyssa and a corporate Elyssa. And I want to make sure everyone is happy and everyone's fulfilled. And sometimes I forget about the real me in that, but that's the part of the balance I'm working on.
Oh,
the less
absolutely.
robotic Elyssa.
I think that's important too, for you to have some time to yourself and feel, who you are as a person, and
Right.
I think that's significant too. And having said what you did, Elyssa, how important is it for anyone, you think, to find their safe haven? Say you were into sports, you're now into art, you transition when you needed to, the best possible way, making the most of the opportunity and the time that you had.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say when it comes to anyone finding their safe haven?
I think everyone knows what their safe haven is, but anyone who's not in their safe haven is afraid to be there, whether they think they're supposed to be following a certain path or living up to parents' expectations or, being able to pay the bills. I think that's what keeps everybody from going to that safe space, whether it's something creative, whether it's something off the grid, whatever it is. And I just feel like it's so important to live there in that happy spot as much as you can. And even, learn how you can bring a little bit of that happy spot to what you currently do in the meantime. Mm-hmm. So if you are a doctor because that's what your family wanted you to do, then how can you freelance on the side and do what you really love to do? Or how can you make the transition? Or when you retire, can you go to your happy place? Can you live on the beach off the grid? So I think whether it's planning short term to switch over to what that safe spot to you is, or planning long term to have something to look forward to. I think you have to remember yourself and your happiness because it really shows at your job. I can tell with people who I work with, I can tell who loves what they do and who is there because they need to pay the bills. And I think no matter what you do, if you love it, you will become successful because it radiates from you.
Mm-hmm. I think giving up the reluctance is the message and feeling confident about expressing oneself. I think that's the key takeaway from whatever you said there. And as far as art, say you found that to be your safe haven. For anyone to be successful, what are some key elements that one should go after?
I think everybody, whether or not you're creating a physical brand, I think everybody should think of themselves as a brand. And I describe my friends as brands and my family as brands. If someone does something that's surprising, I'm like, that is off brand for them. Whereas if they do something that's really in their characteristic, I'm like, that was totally on brand. We expected it. So I think everyone needs to step back and look at themselves and say, I am a product, I am a service, and this is who I am and who I want to be, and how am I going to get there? So, is that social media post that's going to live in the internet forever? Is that something that you want a future employer to see? Is the image that you're putting out there, are you dressing like you are going to be the boss one day? I think it's really thinking about every little thing you do, from the way you eat to the amount of time you sleep. I think everything put together makes your own brand and can either make or break your vision.
Oh, absolutely. And so if you were to say how you have made a difference in society or people's lives, what would that be?
Yeah, I think that's a tricky question. In the scheme of things, I think there's no comparison, especially after the year we've had where, our healthcare heroes are just, I don't know what we would have done without them. But on my own little tiny level, I feel like bringing joy and bringing awareness to mental health and helping some of the nonprofits that I've been able to help. I recently worked with Your Mom Cares, a mental health organization, and I worked with Shatterproof, an organization that helps fight and bring awareness to addiction. And then my dad's nonprofit, which is the Center for Educational Innovation. which transformed some of the lowest performing public schools. So, those three organizations, I've tried to help them using my designs as a tool for them to reach either future funders or followers, and to help just increase their awareness and as a following. So I like to try to think of ways that my designs can go beyond being pretty, but also, have a real purpose behind them. So that's something that means a lot to me.
How nice. And if you were to give your 2 cents worth to youth as to how they can transform whatever they are learning into something productive, what would you say, Elyssa?
I think that everything you're learning, as much as it feels irrelevant, is relevant in some way, shape, or form. So it's taking a class. If you're in college, if you're in high school, if you feel like you're doing something that you never need to know, how can you tie it back to you? There's got to be some sort of relation, because all of a sudden, when you tie it back to you and you're like, this matters and this is going to help me in the future, all of a sudden you care so much more, and you'll retain the knowledge if you're able to use it in an applicable manner. So although textbooks are always very like third person, here's a fact, memorize it, what can that fact do for you? Or what can that historic trend show to you moving forward? So it's really trying to be selfish a little bit when you're learning, and think about why all of these things matter to you, and what you can get out of them.
Okay. And I know you also do collaboration with other people. And if you just want to talk about more of that aspect of your business, I think whoever is interested can go check Cheery out, and they can go on cheerydesigns.com and all your Instagram contact and whatever you want to share here. If you want to talk about that, I think, definitely the listeners can benefit from that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Collaborating is one of my favorite things, because not only does it allow me to work with products and vendors that I have never worked with before, but it also kind of brings me back to focus, because, when I'm drawing and creating art, it's me in my head creating something and then judging it and kind of doing it again and again and again. And you're your own worst critic, and it's always hardest to get approval from yourself. It's easier to get approval from somebody else. So when I'm working on a collaboration, it's just great to have a fresh set of eyes, to have a task with guidelines and restrictions, because, it's always the restrictions and how you can work around them that make you more creative. I always say the more rules, the better, because then I really have to think about something like it's a puzzle. So I love having someone else's eyes, someone else's guidance, and just perspective, or else everything would look the same. Everything would look like things that I like. So I need some other opinions in there. And that's been really fun. I think one of my favorite collaborations so far has been the wallpaper I'm doing with Curio by Fifth and Main, because there's nothing like seeing your art so large scale and tactile that it's just super fun. And I wouldn't have been able to do that on my own. So I'm so grateful to all the people who let me work with them and share their ideas with me.
Oh, perfect. And so just if you want to give out your website and your Instagram, if you wish, for people to follow you, and also offer some takeaways you want people to embrace, I think that would be great.
Yeah, definitely. So my website is cheerydesigns.com. My Instagram is cheery_designs. And then I tried making a TikTok. It's Cheery Designs, but I need a lot of help with it. So follow the other two first.
Okay.
And I think I would just leave you with, trying to make the most out of every day. And that's all we've got day by day. Just either you should be smiling or bring a smile to somebody else, because we're all in it together. So.
Very well said, Elyssa. And great things are done by a series of small things brought together, said Vincent van Gogh. And I think I just want to leave the listeners here with that thought, because you have done something wonderful with all the series of small things that you have put together. And as that has definitely been like not just a great first step, but that has led you to more and more success. And wish you the very best on behalf of all my listener community and myself. And we'll certainly catch up with you again in the future to check back on how Cheery is doing. And do you have any vision for Cheery in the next 3 to 5 years? If you would like to share that with us.
I think just getting bigger, better, and staying cheery. It's a hard place to be in. It's a delicate spot.
Yes, definitely. But you have succeeded in doing that, and that's great. And thank you so much for being on the show, and look forward to checking back with you again in the future.
Thank you. This was so fun.
Oh, definitely. And I'd like to tell my listeners to definitely follow the podcast week after week, Tuesdays, and listen to it from your favorite podcast app of choice. Follow the podcast. Follow me on Instagram at YP and follow the podcast at Freshly Forever on Instagram. Send me your feedback there or on Twitter at Freshly Forever1. Look forward to another episode and making every week a fresh leaf forever on the podcast. Until then, it's your host, Vi, saying so long.